Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. In this podcast, we will interview individuals who have been successful within athletics and beyond. We hope that these interviews will encourage and inspire girls and women to be active for a lifetime, to reach their goals, and to break new barriers in sport and life. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative and the Sports Medicine Research Institute at the University of Kentucky. The mission of the Active Women's Health Initiative is to optimize health and promote physical activity and wellness for girls and women across the lifespan. We hope you enjoy our conversations and join us in understanding women's health today to ensure women's health tomorrow. Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. I'm your host, Dee Dugansky, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Natalie Jones. Natalie earned a bachelor's degree in exercise science from Transylvania University and a master's of public health and health behavior from the University of Kentucky. In her current role, Natalie is working to promote health across the state of Kentucky as an extension specialist for family health in the School of Human Environmental Sciences at the University of Kentucky. Natalie was a collegiate soccer athlete and is a two-time Ironman finisher, completing her second Ironman just last month. She's also currently working on her PhD in public health, focusing on health policy. Natalie, thanks for joining me today.
Wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
So could you get us started by talking a little bit about your early sport and physical activity experiences?
Yeah, I definitely was involved with sports from a young age. Both my parents were athletes growing up, and so just playing and being outside was something that we started with, and soccer was my main passion growing up through high school and then college as well. So that was really kind of the foot in the door for me when it came to being an athlete. After I graduated college, not really having a sport to go to, but always loving and craving that active lifestyle, I started doing more races and running and just slowly increased the distances and the challenges, and so ended up doing Ironmans, which is something I had no idea about growing up as a kid. So it's been a really cool learning experience, not only from sports, but just life in general.
Yeah. What sports did your parents play?
My mom was a tennis player, and my dad was lacrosse and football.
Okay. So did they encourage you to just try whatever you wanted, or what was that early life experience like for you?
Yeah, we did a bunch of like sports camps and different things. My mom really tried for us to be tennis players, but that hand-eye coordination was not there.
Yeah.
So it's fun still to hit around, but it's definitely not my strong suit. So I think that experience and that wide variety of sports that my parents introduced us to was really helpful. They did not push that like specialized child type of thing that we see now a lot.
Yeah.
They definitely let us do a wide variety of things. So I was on t-ball, I did basketball, volleyball, swimming at the pool during the summer. And so that background really helped transfer, I think, into the skills that I have had today.
Yeah. When did you start focusing only on soccer?
I would say only on soccer would have been around my sophomore, junior year in high school.
Okay.
I was on a club soccer team in high school, but I also swam for my high school, my freshman and sophomore year. And then junior and senior year in high school, I decided to really focus on soccer and wanting to work on playing in college as the goal, and so really narrowed down on those skills and then hit training and weightlifting and different styles to really build that strength.
Cool. And when you think about over the course of your lifetime, you've been active in lots of different ways and played soccer competitively and now doing triathlons. How do you think that having that active lifestyle over the course of your life has impacted your education? Yeah,
I think it's been a real strong suit, especially in just the health field of where my education has gone. Going into exercise science in college, I thought that I would do more sports psychology. That was where my thought process was. And then it really kind of all switched when I did a service trip to the Dominican Republic, and we really focused on health and culture and how that can influence people's behaviors. And it was just a great learning experience for me to see that health isn't just sports and being on a sports team and being a collegiate athlete. There's so much more to it, and just the enjoyment of being healthy and being active doesn't mean that you're in a gym sweating, busting out reps. It can be just walking to the market or doing different things for your family. And so that was, I think, really the switch that got me into the public health spectrum. But it was really, I think, just having an appreciation for sports helped connect with different people also traveling. I found that as well. And so it's been a really cool experience to have that.
Yeah, sport is such a global experience, something that people experience across the globe. So it can really be a connection between people.
Exactly. I was fortunate to go to Zimbabwe to get my global health certificate through Africa University. And it was amazing to go play soccer with these kids. And they were so surprised that I could play that well as a female. And so that was a cool barrier for them to see that women were just as capable as they were.
Yeah. Did you ever have any of those kinds of experiences in the States, in the United States, where you had, were playing with males or, had a male who looked at you and thought, wow, you're good at soccer and or any other kind of physical activity?
I think that's a barrier that a lot of women feel when it comes to sports. We were actually talking about this the other day with some friends about that intimidation factor of going to the gym as a female sometimes that people feel. And I definitely have had that when I think people assume that you may not be, I don't know the right word to say, but you may not be as capable as a male is. And then when I'm like, no, actually, I do Ironmans, they're like, I'm so sorry. Like they because if I say I'm a runner, then they're like, oh, like, what do you do? Like 5Ks and I'm like, a little more than that. And so I think it's really inspiring too to open people's eyes to see what else is out there and that there's more to just a female than what people see, and that sports is a really strong suit for women. And that's what I love about sports now is that it's really connected me with really strong women that have really influenced my career and I think where my future path as well. So it's been a really great process.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about how being active has impacted your career? You mentioned it a little bit there.
Yeah. Well, loving physical activity and being active really is my passion. I ride my bike to work, so it's not just what I do for training, but also what I like to do in regular day-to-day activities. And that's what I want to share with the state of Kentucky, and really showing that chronic disease prevention is key through physical activity and health, and that it is possible. And I think that being physically active myself helps set an example as what that can look like and what people can do. What I have found, though, through Ironman training and through meeting such a culture of different people who participate in this type of activity has really just been inspiring, and seeing other strong women who are just lady bosses, like
that's what you said the first time we met. I remember that.
And so it's been just amazing to see that women can just be so successful not only in sport but in career as well. And I think that having strong women who I train with has been really impactful of knowing that I can move up the ladder in a career as well. And so, like, the people who I train with, I have 3 really close friends who we train with, and one is a boss of a CEO of a bank. We have a lawyer, another one who's a sales rep for a big company in Florida, and it's just really cool to see how they are so successful in their career and training and Ironman. And I think it's just helpful to have a group of women who support each other for both.
And when you can see it, you feel like you can be that thing too, right?
Exactly. And everyone is supportive and just really in your corner and wants you to be successful both in sport and in career.
Yeah, I love that transfer over idea. You think you're just training for this physical event, but really there's probably some mentoring that happens in those groups.
100%. Yes.
Role modeling, all kinds of good things.
Yes, and that's what I love about Ironman is that it's such a wide spectrum of participants, a wide spectrum of careers, age, for sure. And if anything, for cycling, I'm young. to be a cyclist. When we go out and cycle, we're with a lot of people who have been doing it a lot longer. And so it is fascinating just to go out and talk. And I think you're right. When it comes to training, like we do talk a lot about the sport. But if we aren't swimming, we're usually running or biking, and we're able to have a conversation and vent and get some ideas about how to handle certain situations in the workplace. And it's really been helpful.
Good. So, and this is switching gears a little bit, but in all of your training, have you experienced any injuries? And if so, how have you overcome those?
Yeah. 2 big injuries that have really affected my path as an athlete would be actually in college. My sophomore year, I got hurt. A freak accident. I ended up getting kicked by a horse and tore some ligaments in my ankle. And it definitely was tough coming back doing PT. And then I was able to come back to the soccer team, but I just wasn't the same player. I was very timid and afraid to go into tackles with my foot because I was worried about re-injuring.
Right.
And that is what really triggered my sense of finding something that I was confident in, that I was still able to push like an athlete. And so I think that injury really is what got me started running because unfortunately during that time when I was out, I lost my starting position for soccer, and I was in a low place, really frustrated. And so I started running when I could, and I had never, you can ask anyone, I never was a runner. Like
played soccer, but you weren't a runner.
But I wasn't a runner, I could play chasing a ball, that was different, but running for fun was not something that I ever would have voiced. And so it definitely became an outlet for me, and that's actually when I ran my first half marathon because I think I needed to prove to myself that I still was strong and that I still was an athlete, and it was amazing. I finished the race, and I had never done a big race like that before, and I just crossed the finish line and then left. And I didn't know that you could like stay after, and I ended up finding out a year later that I got first place in my age group, and I had no idea. Oh my goodness. Had no idea because I didn't know that was a thing, and I wasn't doing it for that. I was just doing it for myself and to prove that I could do it. And I ended up a year later running another race, and they told me that I had gotten second place in my age group when I had done that race, and I was like, oh, well, I wonder how I did during my first one. And I went back and looked it up and found that out. So I had no idea. So that was kind of funny to...
It's good validation that you were doing it for just you, right? There's no question about that.
Yeah. So I think that injury is really what kind of pushed me into long distance running because I got hooked on half Ironman or half marathons, and then pushed into a full marathon of finishing that, and then I got bored with just running and started the triathlon journey. And so that injury I think has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, it sounds like that transition was fairly easy for you into a new activity. Sometimes I think people struggle with finding something after structured sport, but it sounds like that was fairly easy for you.
Yeah, I think that definitely the running came easy because soccer, we do a lot of running, and so that wasn't really out of my comfort zone. It was a little out of my comfort zone in terms of I had never really gone out for a 10-mile run regularly,
the distance.
For a consistent amount of time, but that was about it. I think when I started doing triathlon, the hardest thing for me to overcome was cycling because I had swam in high school. I wasn't anything special, but I knew how to swim. I was confident in the water. And then running was pretty easy for me. But cycling, I had a bad bike accident when I was young. And I was young enough, I was in middle school, so I was young enough to remember the pain and like what happens when you flip over your bike. And so I've always been, still to this day, a very cautious cyclist. And so for me, that has been the biggest barrier when it comes to training for triathlon.
So when you think back over your whole life and all of the activities you've done, how do you think your life might have been different if you weren't an active child and playing sports all through your life?
Yeah, I think it would be totally different. A 180. I don't even know. Even just living in Lexington, where there is a lot of active opportunities for people, for young kids up to adults. And I think just living here has been a really eye-opening experience as opposed to living, if I was somewhere else, I don't even know if I would know what an Ironman was. And I didn't know what Ironman was until I went to Louisville and just happened to come across Louisville Ironman like happening. And so that was like, oh, this is a thing. Like I could, okay, let's do this, you know? Took a few years to actually get there. But, but yeah, so I think that it would just be totally different because I don't know if I would have even gone into exercise science for my bachelor's, and then I wouldn't be in public health if I didn't care about community health and individuals and just the amazing opportunities that physical activity provides to people for not only health benefits, but like for their personal joy and personal mental health, everything that is combined with it. And I don't know where I would be.
It's a hard question to answer when it's really part of your everything. I mean, it's part of who you are, it sounds like.
Yeah, so I would not be me, I don't think, without sport.
Great. So, and this is my last question, unless you have anything else to add, but what advice would you give to girls and women who are out there trying to be more active or don't really know how to get started?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I would say is it's okay to feel uncomfortable and it's okay to be nervous. I get nervous still. Like I said, I'm a very cautious cyclist, and being on a bike scares me. And I am aware of that every time I'm on my bike. And so I think that it's just overcoming those fears, whether it be swimming or whether it be going to a new fitness class, anything like that. It's okay to be uncomfortable and to really, I think, breathe and settle into that. And then when you are able to finish whatever makes you feel uncomfortable, it's such an empowering feeling and being like, wow, I was scared, but I still did it. And I'm amazing. I think that is like the biggest reinforcer for why I like doing Ironmans is that I think I like that feeling of being uncomfortable and then pushing past it and then just feeling so successful. It doesn't matter, like I said, like what the time is. It doesn't matter what, place you got. All that matters is that you were able to succeed in something that was hard. And I think that just makes it worth it. And I think that right now there's been plus and minuses with social media, but I think that social media has really helped, I think, with sports and women being active, and that really spreading that women can be active and can be a CrossFitter or a cyclist or anything and still be a female. And I think it's awesome.
Great. Anything else you'd like to add today?
Just go out and be active. Have fun. I think that's the biggest thing. Have fun, enjoy life, and live it to the fullest. That's all.
Great. Well, I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thanks.